All right, hello everyone. My name is Chris O'Connor. I usually lead the RBCM at Home summer programs for last week and this week on Wednesdays. Dakota Nelson will be leading it, which is very exciting. But before we get to Dakota, and before we get to our mystery object for today, I wanted to introduce Leah Pierce, who's a public service librarian with the Greater Victoria Public Library. We here at the Royal BC Museum love libraries, and we particularly love the Greater Victoria Public Library system and all the amazing staff there that we've done lots of great work with. So the last couple summers we've done programs together, and last week and this week we're doing a program kind of in like collaboration between the Royal BC Museum and the Greater Victoria Public Library. And we're so happy that you're here, Leah. So we want to give you a little time before we begin our mystery object. If you want to tell us a little bit about the summer reading program, and at the end of the program to come back and give us some recommendations for books that we can read going forward.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me here today, having the library here. Yes, the museums and the libraries, we're places of learning, we're kindred spirits, always wonderful to partner with you folks. And this partnership is especially awesome for promoting our summer reading club. So every year at the library, we do our summer reading club. Every year there's a slightly different theme, and we have artwork from a BC artist. This year, the theme is called Crack the Case. It's all about mysteries, but really you can read about anything you want, but that ties in so nicely with the mystery object. And we love a good theme here at the library. So let me show you how this works. You can stop by any of the 12 Greater Victoria Library branches and pick up your reading record. It is not too late to start. And what you do is every day that you read, you fill in one of the circles. When you've read for 7 days, you reward yourself with one of the stickers that come in your packages. You also get 2 prizes that you can award to yourself on any day that you feel you've done a particularly great job of reading. So there's a bookmark and a temporary tattoo. When you have read for 7 weeks, that's when you qualify for your grand prize. Come back to the library and pick up your grand prize. It's a medal and it's a prize book. And we have literally thousands of books. This year we bought more than ever before, brand new ones for you to pick from and take home and keep. This is part of a BC-wide reading program, so some people are doing this online as well. And if you come and get your reading record, your starter pack right now, you can just think back to what you've been reading previously in the summer and get all caught up. A couple other things going on in the library for that. Make sure you stop by and fill out our prize ballots. We're drawing for some Monroe's gift certificates. We also have one coveted Victoria Royals jersey that we're giving away. And we're also doing take and make bags throughout the summer. These our little bags come with everything you need to make something. So far we've had a macrame bird feeder, we've had a paper Dakota ring, and there's a couple more coming up in the weeks to come. So hopefully you stop by the library.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you say you have lots of books at the library, and the museum has lots of objects and specimens and belongings and documents and images, actually over like 7 million things we have here. And last week we were exploring through natural history an object that turned out to be an octopus beak, but we had to do a little cracking the case to figure out what it was. And this week Dakota has a new object that we'll need to crack the case about what it is. So over to you, Dakota, if you want to share your screen or.
Let me share my screen real quick. Okay. Is this the right display settings? Does it look good?
It looks great.
Okay, good. All right. So today we are going to go on an adventure, taking you guys along on the adventure that we went on to try to figure out what this week's mystery item was. As Chris just mentioned last week, it was an octopus beak, so that was super fun going through the exhibits and going through the natural history floor and trying to figure out what it is. So this week we went to the 3rd floor on the human history exhibits to try to figure out what this is. I found it a little bit more difficult. So we'll get started. I'm just going to do a quick introduction. My name is Dakota Nelson. I am Musqueam from Kinkum Inlet, and I am Tal10 from Telegraph Creek. And I am here for the summer at the museum. And then in September, I'm going to go into my final year at UVic, doing anthropology and Indigenous studies. So I'm excited to be here. Just like to do a quick acknowledgement that the RBCM Museum is located on the traditional territories of Lekwungen people. Always like to give our thanks and appreciation for the opportunity that we have to work and live and learn on these territories. It's super important to reflect on that. Here we are. All right, so we're starting off with question of the day. In a post-pandemic world, where is the first place that you want to travel to? Personally, I would love to go to Australia or New Zealand, or maybe Italy. It feels like we're slowly getting to seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with the pandemic, but not quite for traveling. But yeah, where do you all want to travel? Where's your next vacation going to be once we're in a post-pandemic world, whenever that is?
Italy sounds nice.
Yeah.
I have family in the States, so I would probably want to go visit my family down there. How about you, Leah?
Oh, I typed it in.
Oh.
I can't wait to go up island and see my parents. I've missed them so much during the pandemic. And then after that, I've been dreaming about Paris, France. So I'm pretty sure that's a sign I should go over there and work on my French.
Yeah. Super pretty there.
Zahara on the chat said Portugal.
Portugal. Ooh,
Yeah.
that'd be nice. Oops. All right, so this is today's item. Is there any guesses off the bat? I also have it here with me if that's an easier view. But this is today's mystery item for the human history side of the museum. Are there any guesses off the bat? I found it a little bit more difficult than last week, just because this feels a little, I just couldn't guess. At least with the last one, we could kind of guess by like textures or what it looks like. So we kind of ventured everywhere and explored all of our avenues. So we started off in the handling collection here. We don't have a lot of glass objects, but we thought we'd take a look because this is pretty solid glass. So we started and we looked at what we had. These don't quite match up other than the fact that they're both glass. But these are actually just glass floats. They're glass buoys. So a fun fact about these is that large groups of fishnets are usually strung together, sometimes up to like 50 miles or 80 kilometers. And these were strung along on the fishnets just to keep it afloat, just because it was so long and you can just kind of help to keep track of it. They're definitely not used as much now, but could be something that's washed up on the beach still that got lost. So that was fun. We have a few of those in our handling collection, but figured they're a little bit too different. Not our item, unfortunately. And then from there, we explored the exhibits, and the first stop was in the First Peoples Gallery. My main kind of clues leading me to things was kind of just based on material. So this glass looked kind of similar to the quartz that we have in the First Peoples Gallery. But again, none of these are quite matching up. But we learned that artifacts made of quartz are pretty commonly found in the Gulf of Georgia. And the nature of quartz makes it a pretty good material for tools or making them into microblades. And there are a few accounts by ethnographers that the microblades from these crystal quartz tools were actually used to cut nephrite, which is like BC jade. So that's kind of cool. But unfortunately, that is not our item. And then from there, we went to Century Hall. and found this one to be a bit of a stretch, but it looked cool. It's a radio receiver. It's a macronophone radio receiver. There's a lot of cool things that we found in Century Hall, but unfortunately none of them quite matched up. So we had to roll that one out as well. And then from there, we went to Old Town and we stopped up in the office and thought, you know, this could be a paperweight potentially, but it's a very general guess. So potentially still out there, but not sure. And then we also stopped at the movie theater. I think maybe if this is some sort of light projection type of object. So the theater that we have in Old Town is actually Majestic Theater, and it was first housed in Moore's Music Hall in 1860. And it was upstairs of the dry goods store that he had. However, it wasn't until around the 1920s that movie theaters and movie houses became like the main source of entertainment for people. So that was a fun fact that we learned. These are better guesses than what we started out with, but unfortunately, I don't think that's what it is. And then this was our last stop. We actually explored Victoria a bit, and this kind of gave it away. Is there any final guesses that anyone has before we kind of do the big reveal? This is us. We were so excited that we found out what it was that we had to celebrate. Are there any final guesses as to what this item is?
I'm wondering, Leah, you in the chat, you said that you thought it was a butter dish. Do you still think it's a butter dish?
Well, I don't understand why you'd be that excited to find a butter dish outside, so probably not.
Unfortunately, no, it is not a butter dish. I could kind of see that if this isn't hollow though, but it could be like it could be a pretty funky butter dish if we hollowed it out a bit. Okay, so this is actually a deck prism light. So deck prism lights typically used in boats. This is just from the boat and the exhibits that we have. It's not quite the same as a deck prism light, but we thought we'd compare it. So typically these are kind of flush in with the deck, and this is going out, and natural light reflects through, and that just kind of gives you some more natural light below deck. These were especially useful before electricity. People were on a wooden boat. Fire and candles and stuff isn't super safe below deck. You never know what could happen in the middle of the ocean. So we'd have these kind of prism lights, and that would give you some natural light. Of course, there are some drawbacks as well, because you would need to have the natural light or some sort of light source going through. But I think it looks super cool, especially if I'll just give you an example of just like how much the light actually shines through. And these, what I've found at least, I'm not 100% sure, these date back to earliest at 1840s. So we actually found from the pictures of last, this is the similar concept, smaller, of course, but these are shedding light into like a basement or like their storage area. And this is just on Fort Street. It's by a building, I think it's the Yarrow building, and it's completely surrounded. So if you see these on the sidewalk, you know that they're shedding light into the storage room or the basement room. And this is, I tried to find a similar picture. It wasn't purple. This is what it looks like from underneath. So that was a fun journey that we went on to figure out what this funky little prism light was actually. It was a little bit tricky because it's such a weird item. At least with the octopus beak last week, we could kind of guess through the animals and the shells and stuff. So this was a little bit trickier. So that was our adventure to figure out what this funky little item was.
So when everyone is exploring around downtown, and actually that building is really close to the downtown branch of the Greater Victoria Public Library. Look around. it was interesting, Dakota, when we were there. When we were there yesterday, when we found it, it looks like that could just be decorative. Like it's like a mosaic on the sidewalk, but it actually has this function that is kind of hidden, but it helps, like you said, helps illuminate the rooms below the sidewalk. Even thinking that there are rooms below a sidewalk is really interesting.
Yeah, so those are all journey.
Leah, did you know about these kinds of things, these prism lights?
I actually did. And I'm trying to remember who told me about them. Is there something about this in the museum? We go there quite a bit, so I'm wondering if that's where I learned about it. Oh, sorry, that was a skill testing question.
We couldn't find anything in the museum that was exactly like, except for like Dakota was saying, the boat and that light shaft above the boat is a similar concept.
It might have been one of the historical tours or something I've done downtown, but I remember hearing about that. And I just love this idea about, even these hidden gems under your feet, right? There's a story everywhere, and I love that.
Well, thanks, Dakota. We've cracked 2 cases in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And actually, Dakota, if you wanted to stop sharing your screen. One of the things about this summer is like Dakota's been cracking cases like the whole summer, because we have all these handling collection objects and specimens and belongings that some we know what they are and some we don't. And that's been part of Dakota's journey, is to figure out trying to figure out what these things are. So, and Dakota's been doing an amazing job with that. Leah, do you want to tell us a little bit about some possible books that might go along, if not with the glass prism, if like maybe glass something?
Okay. I've got a number of books here. I have a few on my screen too, so I might share my screen in a minute if we're set up for that. So the first thing that's got me thinking about is how people come up with these great ideas and how they build their buildings and all the different things that they've come up with over the years to tackle things like, you don't have electricity in your storage area, how are you going to see what's there? And architects who build buildings and engineers really need to put on their thinking caps to kind of problem solve for stuff like that. And then we pass down those ideas through our generation. So the first thing that got me thinking about was architecture and architects. And so David Macaulay is an author illustrator who writes these amazing books about buildings. And he's most famous for ones called Moss Cathedral and Castle. This one's called Built to Last. And it's got all kinds of amazing hand-drawn pictures in here. And they explain the different parts of buildings. And I'm sure there'd be something in there even like about these glass prisms, all the different things they come up with for that. So he's written a lot. I just look up David Macaulay in our online catalog and place some bolts so you can get some of those. There's also this whole series called Cross Sections. Sorry, I'm in a funny spot in front of him. Called Cross Sections. This is Stephen Bieski. He's got a number of them. This one's about a castle as well. And so like the David Macaulay books, you can see inside them and see all the different things that they've done to make the castles work, right? And all the different inventions, whether it's bringing in light, making sure you're ready for like a siege or a battle, all kinds of different things in here. And it's really fun to go down to that level. So still on the architecture theme, Nikki Tate writes with a number of different people. Her co-author here is Danny Tack-Stratton. These are about different homes all around the world. So you can see different ways that different cultures have made homes for us to live in and made it work, right? And then we've got lots of kind of more sciencey ones so you can try some different maker labs and build some buildings. After that, I started thinking about the deck prisms, because you were saying not only are they used on sidewalks to bring that light down into those storage areas, but they also were used on ships for that same idea, so that you could see below deck when you're down there. So that got me thinking about ships. There's some great nonfiction books out there about 10 ships that rocked the world. I'm sure there's something in there about the Titanic. things didn't go so well for them, but I think there's more successful books as well in here. Just a sweet little book about little Tug, and even though he's small, he's mighty. I always love a small but mighty story. This is a beautiful new book. It doesn't have anything to do with boats. I'm gonna just tip you off to that, but it's a beautiful book about lighthouses, and I just wanted to share this one too. Of course, pirates, we gotta mention those when we're talking about ships. This is a great graphic novel all about pirates, and I feel I would be remiss if I didn't mention the amazingness that is the Octonauts, and all the adventures they go on. They got definitely using your imagination there. We don't mention the deck prisms, but they got some pretty amazing inventions going on under the sea. And also, this guy's name is Captain Barnacles, and that will always make me laugh. So there we go.
Hey, thank you so much. Those were fantastic. We got a yay in the chat. So, so all those, like, the connections between architecture and boats and the science and the way things work. So thank you so much, Leah, for doing that. And thank you so much, Dakota, for guiding us through that adventure. It was fun to go on yesterday and try to figure it out with you. Any final words, Dakota, that you'd like to say about, like, maybe even like what you're finding in addition to the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, for sure. Been a lot of fun going on these adventures, of course, last week and this week, trying to find out the mystery item. But yeah, just exploring what we have in the handling collection. It's always interesting. I always have such a cool Zoom background because it is the handling collection. I am dealing with a lot more animals and birds and stuff that I anticipated when this wasn't something I was expecting. We brought some stuff from the invertebrate collection down. You can see right here, it's a non-BC, it's just like this monstrosity of a crab that's like kind of freaky. And it's non-BC, so it's just fun exploring and seeing all the different things. There's many sea animals in jars behind me all the time now, so it's kind of fun to take a look at those.
And I'm thinking, Dakota, also you talked about both what they look like, but also what they smell like too.
Yeah.
Once we brought that down, the smell was a little overpowering at first.
But it was a little bit much, yeah. The jars are full of ethanol, so it took me a minute to get used to the ethanol smell, and it kind of faded, or it's a combo of the both, I'm not sure. But I create a little bit of distance between myself and this wall now. But yeah, it's been super fun. Just going along, solving mysteries, not even for this program, but also what's in the handling collection. So I'm happy to be here, at least for the rest of this month. So thank you to everyone for coming on these journeys for these programs with me.
Thank you, Dakota. And again, thank you, Leah. And thanks to you both. Just as a reminder, we have the RBCM at Home summer program happening on Fridays and Wednesdays. And then we have our Instagram Live Follow Me program, which on Tuesdays at 12. And actually, Dakota will be guiding us next Tuesday at 12 on Instagram if you're just the Royal BC Museum Instagram page. So, all right. Well, the case is cracked. So now it's time for lunch, I guess. All right. Thanks, you two.
Thank you so much.
And thanks everyone for joining in. Bye.